Wow. So Trump's Department of Justice just filed a brief with the United States Supreme Court regarding Ghislaine Maxwell's request that her conviction in connection with sex trafficking be overturned based upon a non-prosecution agreement that Jeffrey Epstein entered back in 2007, 2008 with the United States Attorney's Office in Florida, with a guy who eventually became Donald Trump's labor secretary during Donald Trump's first administration. The Department of Justice is saying that the Supreme Court should not take up Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal, her request for what's called certiorari to overturn her conviction for sex trafficking in federal court in the Southern District of New York. I'm going to go through it, but the Department of Justice also provides kind of a roadmap regarding the arguments that Ghislaine Maxwell is now advancing, that Trump's former labor secretary, when he was a United States attorney, included her in the sweetheart deal with Jeffrey Epstein when there was a co-conspirator clause added saying that Epstein's co-conspirators should not be prosecuted. Now, when a co-conspirator clause is referenced, doesn't that also imply that there are other co-conspirators like Ghislaine Maxwell and others? And wouldn't that also imply the existence of other individuals who may be out there who may have been potentially thought of as being included in that non-prosecution agreement? And then you think about Donald Trump bringing this guy as his labor secretary. His name was Alex Acosta, who was the guy who made that deal with Epstein, and bringing him very close to him in the first Trump administration. Here's what I want to point out as well. The Trump regime continued or extended the deadlines twice for them to respond to Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal to the United States Supreme Court. Their most recent extension letter to the Supreme Court was June 6th, 2025. So it's interesting, right, that within 24 hours now, after Donald Trump making that post where Donald Trump said that the Epstein list exists or the Epstein files exist, but they were a hoax by Obama and Clinton, 24 hours after, that's when the Justice Department finally files its brief before the United States Supreme Court. I want to go through this brief with you that the United States Department of Justice just filed. What I want to point out also, though, is Alex Acosta, again, who was Trump's labor secretary during first Trump's term, is referenced in this brief a lot. So let me just remind you of Donald Trump standing right next to Alex Acosta at the White House during Trump's first term. And you'll see here Donald Trump saying that many people thought Acosta's deal with Epstein was a good deal and people were happy with the deal. But now 12 years later, people are unhappy. And even Trump saying, I didn't want Acosta to go. I think this is going to be a critical piece of evidence in Ghislaine Maxwell's request for a retrial. Here, play this clip.
He's a great labor secretary, not a good labor secretary. He's done a fantastic job. He's a friend of everybody in the administration. And I got a call this morning early from Alex. And I think he did a very good job yesterday. Under a lot of pressure, he did a fantastic job. And he explained it. He made a deal that people were happy with, and then 12 years later, they're not happy with it. You'll have to figure all of that out. But the fact is, he has been a fantastic Secretary of Labor. And Alex called me this morning, and he wanted to see me. And I actually said, well, we have the press right out here, so perhaps you just want to say it to the press. But I just want to let you know, this was him, not me, because I'm with him. He's a tremendous talent. He's a Hispanic man. He went to Harvard, a great student. And in so many ways, I just hate what he's saying now because we're going to miss him.
All right, now let's go through the brief that was filed in the United States Supreme Court by the Department of Justice. Here's what they say. So here's how they lay it out. They go, following a jury trial in the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York, petitioner was convicted, that's Ghislaine Maxwell, on one count of conspiring to transport minors with the intent to engage in criminal sexual activity in violation of 18 U.S.C. 371, one count of transporting a minor with intent to engage in criminal sex activity in violation of 18 U.S.C. 2423, and one count of sex trafficking of a minor in violation of 18 U.S.C. 1591. It goes on to say from 1994 to 2004, Ghislaine Maxwell coordinated, facilitated, and contributed to the multimillionaire financier Jeffrey Epstein's sexual abuse of numerous young women and underage girls. The abuse follows a pattern. Petitioner and Epstein would identify vulnerable girls living under difficult circumstances, isolate them from their friends and families, gaining their trust by giving them gifts and pretending to be their friends, normalize the discussion of sexual topics and sexual touching with the girls, and then transition to sexual abuse. It went on to say that Epstein carried on those activities at, among other locations, Epstein's residences in Palm Beach, Florida, and New York City. All right, Palm Beach, Florida, okay? Ghislaine Maxwell would use, where in Palm Beach? Mar-a-Lago as the one of the sources of where he would sex traffic the girls from. Enter Virginia Giuffre, who's homeless. She's 17 years old, underage. She gets a job at Mar-a-Lago. Ghislaine Maxwell goes to Mar-a-Lago, finds Giuffre there, introduces her to Epstein, then Epstein sex traffics her. Here is, before she died by suicide, here's how Giuffre describes it in her own words. Here, play this clip.
Virginia Roberts was working in the spa at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach when British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell introduced her to multimillionaire Jeffrey Epstein.
The training started immediately. I mean, it was everything down to how to give a blowjob, how to be quiet, be subservient, give Jeffrey what he wants. A lot of this training came from Ghislaine herself. And being a woman, it kind of surprises you that a woman could actually let stuff like that happen, but not only let it happen, but to groom you into doing it. And then there's Jeffrey who's telling you, I want it this way. No, go slower and don't do that and do this.
All right. So then in this brief by the Department of Justice, they talk about the non-prosecution agreement that was entered into by the federal government in 2007, 2008, with Jeffrey Epstein, and it's Alexander Acosta. And here's how it says. The agreement noted that Epstein sought to resolve globally his state and federal criminal liability on the authority of Alexander Acosta, United States Attorney for the Southern District of Florida. Prosecution in this district for the offenses shall be deferred in favor of prosecution by the state of Florida, provided that Epstein abides by the following conditions and the requirements of this agreement set forth below. All right. Now, who was the Attorney General for the state of Florida during the relevant time period? Ding, ding, ding. Pam Bondi, who's now the Attorney General of the United States, was the Attorney General of Florida. It goes on to talk about how a co-conspirator clause was added to the agreement. It says such a co-conspirator clause was highly unusual and appears to have been added with little discussion or consideration by the prosecutors. And then it also talks about how the co-conspirator clause is not the only clause that refers to the United States. It refers to also that there would be non-prosecution basically throughout the United States in other districts, not just in the Southern District of Florida where Palm Beach was. So in this brief, the Solicitor General for Trump goes on to basically say, after outlining the co-conspirator agreement and the non-prosecution agreement, that basically the terms of the non-prosecution agreement are non-binding on the Department of Justice to prosecute Ghislaine in other areas. And so they're saying, hey, Supreme Court, do not allow Ghislaine Maxwell to have this appeal before the United States Supreme Court. Now, why do I think this is important as well? I mean, I think that Donald Trump is trying to figure out a way to deal with Ghislaine Maxwell's assertion that she has the list, that she has the files, and that she wants to talk about it. Remember, at her sex trafficking case, Donald Trump wished her well. He said that he hopes she does well. I wish her well. And then he was asked, why'd you wish her well? And he was like, well, that's just what I say to everybody. I wish them well. So I think one of the things that Donald Trump did, I outlined this in an earlier video, when Donald Trump said in that post that the Epstein list and the Epstein files don't exist, or first he said they don't exist, and then he says that they're a hoax by Obama and Clinton and that they're not real, after first saying that the DOJ said the list doesn't exist and never existed. Then he goes, it does exist, but it's not real. One of the things I think that enables Ghislaine Maxwell to do is to request a retrial. So I think that Donald Trump saw that the date of this United States Supreme Court brief was due by the Department of Justice. And the Department of Justice had to say something to the Supreme Court, and they weren't going to say in that brief, hey, you need to overturn the Epstein convictions and the Ghislaine convictions. So Trump then basically gives Ghislaine the golden ticket by putting in the post, the Epstein list was a hoax and a creation by Obama and Clinton. So now Ghislaine can argue in a retrial that she should get a retrial because it is a hoax. Now, the big supporters of Ghislaine are already out there making the argument that she is entitled to a retrial. One of Ghislaine's biggest supporters is someone named Jessica Reed Krause. She was one of those influencers at the White House. She wears the free Ghislaine Maxwell t-shirts. And so she's been posting, I'll be pushing for a retrial or a pardon, especially in light of the recent news. Everyone should wonder why one woman is serving 20 years for trafficking minors to no one. This was the lady that Donald Trump just had at the White House back in February, who's now saying, aha, I'm going to use the recent news of what Trump said to push for the Ghislaine Maxwell either pardon or to push for Ghislaine Maxwell to get a retrial. So I think Trump knew his DOJ was going to respond that way after getting 2 extensions. He gives Ghislaine the golden ticket to allow her to get a retrial, to kind of string her along so she doesn't reveal the list. And then he has his MAGAs trying to cover it up. For example, Charlie Kirk says, I'm done talking about it. This was the guy who talked about it all the time. Here, play this clip.
Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands. I've said plenty this last weekend. So if you guys want to see my commentary on it, that's fine.
And now here's MAGA Republican Congressmember Mike Lawler, who talks about it. And he says, I don't think we should talk about Epstein anymore. This is what all the MAGA Republicans are saying today. Here, play this clip.
And as I said, if somebody did something, if there is evidence of a crime committed, then prosecute them. In the absence of that, what are we talking about?
You say there's a lot of nonsense. A lot of nonsense from whom? What do you think? Explain to me what you think the nonsense is here.
Well, frankly, the fact that you're even covering this. I mean, I don't even understand, frankly, why we're spending a lot of time on Jeffrey Epstein. The fact is, he was a pedophile who was arrested. He committed suicide, and his fixer, if you will, is being prosecuted. So at the end of the day, if there are people who were part of any crimes, then they should be prosecuted. But in the absence of that, what exactly are we looking to do? The information is there. It is well documented what he did, and beyond that, what exactly are we looking for?
Understood. Just so you know, it's being covered because the deputy director of the FBI is said to have taken off work on Friday to protest the Justice Department own handling of this. And there have been shouting matches reported inside the White House on this. So whether or not you think it's important, apparently there are people who are quite agitated about it, but I will move on.
All right. And remember, this is what Trump said about Ghislaine Maxwell during her trial. Let's play it.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and so a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you've criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well, whatever it is. I don't know the situation with Prince Andrew. Just don't know. Not aware of it.
And here is when Trump was asked on Axios what he said. Here, play this clip.
Mr. President, the other day a reporter asked you about Ghislaine Maxwell. You said, quote, "I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, but I wish her well, whatever it is." Mr. President, Ghislaine Maxwell has been arrested on allegations of child sex trafficking. Why would you wish such a person well?
I don't know that, but I do know that
she has. She's been arrested for that. You know that.
Friend or boyfriend,
Epstein,
was either killed or committed suicide in jail. She's now in jail. Yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish you well. I'd wish a lot of people well. Good luck. Let them prove somebody was guilty. I mean, do you know that?
Oh, so you're saying you hope she doesn't die in jail? Is that what you mean by wish her well?
Her boyfriend died in jail, and people are still trying to figure out, how did it happen? Was it suicide? Was he killed? And I do wish her well. I'm not looking for anything bad for her. I'm not looking bad for anybody. And they took that and
I mean, she's a child alleged child sex trafficking.
Big deal. But all it is her boyfriend died. He died in jail. Was he killed? Was it suicide? I do. I wish her well.
So now the Republicans are saying we do not want to call Ghislaine for any hearings at all. Okay, that's kind of suspicious. They just want to shut it down also. But I'll say this. Even Lara Trump, though, was just giving an interview today, and she claims that more files are going to be released from the Epstein list. This is what she said today on Benny Johnson. Let's play it.
What would be your advice? You know, given this back and forth, we're just coming off of Turning Point here in Tampa. This was the topic of conversation. What would be your advice in order to take the temperature down on this issue from within the administration?
Well, I do think that there needs to be more transparency on this. And I think that will happen. As it relates to the president, I know that this is probably not his number one thing he's focused on. He's focused on a lot of other important things. So I don't know that this was top of mind for him, but he hears all the noise and he hears all of the consternation out there. And I think he's going to want to set things right as well. So I believe that there will probably be more coming on this. And I believe anything that they are able to release that doesn't, damage any witnesses or anyone underage or anything like that. I believe they'll probably try to get out sooner rather than later because they hear it and they understand it. So hopefully we see that happen sooner than later. And I guess that would be my advice. But to everybody out there who's all worked up about it, there's no great plot to keep this information away that I'm aware of. I do just believe that maybe it's been slow rolled for reasons that hopefully we understand down the line. And I think we're probably going to get more transparency on it very soon. Well,
tell me what you think, folks. There's a lot going on there, but that filing to the Supreme Court just happened. We'll keep you posted every step of the way, of course, on the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.